Okay, so now before we move on to the solar controllers, which is the next thing beyond the solar panels, what we're going to do is completely de-energize the system, because now we're going to be playing with a little bit more with plastic connectors. So what we're going to do is, what I've got is 3 banks of 6-volt batteries. Because my system's a 48-volt system, I stack 6 batteries, bam, bam, or 8 batteries that are 6-volt, bam, 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 and that brings me up to 48. Well, then to bring up my amp hours, I have 3 rows of those. Each of those rows is going to bring up the amp hours. So I need 6 of them stacked just to get to the 48 volts to make my system functional. And then each one of these rows I add on after that is going to add on more power. So all we're going to do is there's 3 wires. Each of these positives is exactly the same length, and they land inside the inverter. So I'm going to disconnect those, disconnect the negatives, and then we know the system's got absolutely no power. We took apart the solar panels yesterday. We're going to take apart the battery banks, and then we can start taking apart everything else. So all we're going to do is disconnect the batteries, haul the batteries out. We're going to start that out by removing the ends that go into the inverter, and then we'll remove each of these jumpers that are jumping these together. And these all have to be exactly the same length also, because you want this flow, all this has to be the same, and then it all has to be the same to there, or else the batteries actually will drain into each other, and you don't get a real good working system. So all we're going to do is so we're just going to pop these off quick, de-energize the system. Then obviously I'm going to just take apart the rest of these batteries, and then we'll move on to the rest of the wiring portion of the system. And we'll pick back up after we go to the wiring.